Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second installment of the Momentum of Cancer Research Vintner Grand Honoree Edition. My name's Amanda, and this is Wine Celebration Live. All right, everybody, like I said, my name is Amanda. We are here with Wine Celebration Live in the second installment of the Momentum of Cancer Research Vintner Grand Honoree Edition. I am honored to be here with 2020 Vintner Grand Honorees, John and Michelle Truchard from John Anthony Vineyards, ESPN Sports Center anchor and V Foundation board member, Sage Steele. And Senior Vice President, congratulations, Chad, of Public Relations for the Baltimore Ravens, Chad Steele, and his wife, President and Chief Creative for Silverwood Productions, Wendy Steele. Welcome, everybody. Hi. All right, so how are you guys doing today? Where are we tuning in from? John and Michelle, you must be in Napa.
Yeah, we're here in downtown Napa at one of our little kind of a corporate clubhouse we have. So thank you for having us. Excited to be here.
Awesome. And Chad and Wendy, you guys look like you're in Hawaii.
I know, right? It's well, we obviously live in Baltimore, but we are in San Diego visiting family. So for a little COVID sanity escape. So yeah, we figured the palm frond would be an optimal choice.
Love it.
Napa and San Diego, and I'm suburban Hartford, Connecticut. My life, where.
So now one of the things I love about this particular group is that you guys have actually been friends for a while now. Can you tell me a little bit about how all of you met? Obviously, Chad and Sage, you guys are brother and sister.
No, Chad and I are not friends. No.
Yeah, we're brother and sister, not necessarily friends.
So yeah, if you guys can tell me a little bit about how you all met, because I love this entire group here.
Chad, you go first, and I'll add to the story.
Okay, yeah. So we had a mutual friend, a good friend of mine, when I was working with the San Francisco 49ers, was throwing an event at a Super Bowl party and said, hey, and yeah, of course we'll attend. And Sage was hosting, and they said, I have this couple from Napa I'd love to sit you with, and you guys would get along. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm working. I'm so tired. I just kind of want to relax with my wife and my sister. And there John and Michelle walk in, and like a breath of fresh air. It was just it was amazing, and it was kind of like kindred spirits. And Chrissy did a great job matching us up, and we've been, what is this? We're working on our 5th anniversary now. Yes. 5th anniversary of the Truchards. Yes.
All right, but the best part of it was so Michael Franti was there, and somehow Chad and Sage commandeered the microphone, and they did a rendition of "Parents Just Don't Understand." Oh. That was like, okay, you guys are cool. We're in.
I know. We're like, no way, who are these people?
About that part.
I love it.
Yes.
I don't think there's any, I hope there's no video proof of that. Actually, I will say in 1986 or 7, we actually, Chad and I and our cousins and our youngest brother did a skit to that Parents Just Don't Understand, Will Smith. So, oh my gosh. Thank you, John, for bringing that up.
There's a lot of this involved with that performance.
Yeah. But all right. The common link is Chrissy Delisle. So we do have to give her a shout out for that. So Culinary Chicken is this great event that she always throws at Super Bowl. And little did we know that she was a matchmaker, because she said, Chad, Wendy, I know you guys are gonna hit it off with this John and Michelle. We were like, okay, who? Right, and immediate bromance between Chad and John, and like immediate sister love with myself and Michelle, and we have just from there it's been years. We love. They are literally family, and so like I keep saying, you kind of get all of us. Chad and I are like the amoebas that go along.
Exactly. Well, seriously, we're so glad to have all of you here. And for those that are just joining, like I said, I'm here with John and Michelle Truchard from John Anthony Vineyards, Sage Steele from ESPN, and Chad and Wendy Steele as well. So if you guys have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the comments. And John and Michelle, you guys have been such incredible supporters of the V Foundation and the Wine Celebration for years, and we really honestly cannot thank you enough. We are absolutely overjoyed that you're part of the V family. We love you guys so much. And seriously, thank you for your continued generosity in even offering this trio and 100% of proceeds back to V Foundation. I can't believe it. Can you guys tell us a little bit about the first wine that we're actually going to be trying this evening?
Yeah, you bet. I'll address first a little bit about kind of our involvement in the V Foundation, and then I'll pass over to Michelle, talk about the wines. Like a lot of things, I think at first we were invited to a great party, and we're like, we're in. That sounds like fun. And then not only were the people that go to the event, the wine celebration every year, not only are they great people, but then you start learning more about the organization and just a focus on research and early stage research that would otherwise get funded. And as our business continued to grow and evolve, we started off helping out with John Anthony, and then we recently through Jam Cellar started supporting music, and it's been great. Not only is it a great cause, but also just the people that are involved are awesome. So we're super excited to be here and share some of our wines with you all, and hopefully some of the viewers as well. So with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Michelle to talk a little bit about our first wine, 2018 Sauvignon Blanc. So.
All right, great. All right, so we've got our Sauvignon Blanc here, and this has to be my favorite vineyard of ours because this is the first white wine we ever made. So John planted this vineyard in 2003 in Carneros, Napa. So it's a little 4-acre vineyard, single vineyard, Sauvignon Blanc. It's 100% stainless steel. And what I love about the Sauvignon Blanc is the richness of it. So it's grown out in Carneros, so it's a cooler area. And so John really manages it, lets it hang, gets really ripe and really tropical. So what you'll notice in this Sauvignon Blanc that's maybe different with other Sauvignon Blancs is the richness of the tropical fruits, the pineapple, the melon, the honeydew. And so that's what I love about this. And so the little vineyard, it's a little 4-acre vineyard. John planted 2003. It's down the street from our house. And it's just a favorite of mine. It does so well. It's out at our church vineyards that Chad and Wendy have been to. And Sage, you're going to have to come see it.
I'm coming, girl.
Chad and Wendy, you stayed at church.
Yes. No. Well, no. We want to. We filled up wherever.
Yeah, you've been there. But
yes, we love it. It's beautiful.
So it's 100% stainless steel. Did I say that?
Yep.
And that's it. Single vineyard, small production. Anything else to add?
No, I think that's it. We often said if people like those really like grassy New Zealand Sauvignon Blancs, this is not that. This is the other.
Right.
By the way, I did want to point out that was the Houston Super Bowl where we all met. I believe it was in Houston. And Chrissy assigned the seat specifically to have me sitting next to John and Michelle. And somehow when I got to the table, my nameplate had been moved. And magically Chad and Wendy were there. And now there's this whole love fest. And they're staying on your property and I'm in Connecticut. So I just want to say that this wasn't how it was supposed to work out. And I'm like the tag along at this point, but that's fine. So anyway,
right.
We can neither confirm nor deny that story.
It's true.
Right.
And also, John and Michelle, just to add to your tropical notes, we added the background to your Blanc tropical notes. Love it. It is.
Whole plant.
It is
beautiful.
Full-bodied. I love it.
All right. So Amanda, do I have a like 2 minutes for a little Sage Steele connection story?
Uh-oh.
Absolutely. I will never say no to some inside stories.
So a couple of years ago, we were at Super Bowl, and Chad asked me. He's like, "Okay, can you go?" It was that dine around. They have all the food, all the different locations.
Taste of the NFL.
And Michelle and Wendy and I, we were the Sage Steele entourage. And I never knew what it was to be the entourage, but it basically means that you're on someone else's schedule and time, and you just went.
So true. Very well.
Oh my goodness! And I must have told Michelle 100 times, if this was not Chad's sister, I would be like, I'm out of here. But so this is actually Chad. And so the best part of it was we finally get an Uber, and it was hard to get an Uber. We finally get an Uber. And I'm like, we have to wait. We have one more person coming. And after like 10 minutes, he was getting kind of frustrated. I'm like, I'm like, it's Sage Steele. Sage Steele's coming. And he's like, if it's Sage Steele, just write it for 3. I'm like, great. And I didn't have a number, so I just waited. And the guy's like, his jaw drops. Like, oh my God, she's sitting in the front seat. So we're in the back, and Sage was, and Sage made his day, and it was great.
Oh, I forgot about that. That was last year in Atlanta, right?
That was last year in Atlanta, yeah.
Okay, I will say this. I'm going to apologize again. And this is, I consider it a disorder in the Steele family where I talk too much, and I'm supposed to at work, but then when I'm not at work, sometimes it's hard to turn it off. You can ask my kids and my brother and sister-in-law, but I just, when you talk about being on the schedule and following me, I felt so bad. But Wendy, right? She has to pull me, because here's the thing. I don't know when, like, I don't want to not talk to someone and have them feel bad and think that I wasn't interested. I just go too far, and then everybody's late. So I for Atlanta, I'm sorry.
I always have to say, Sage, disengage. You can't stop. We just got to disengage ourselves.
Yeah. We've started doing hand signals like in baseball, like, Sage, do the, okay, do I need to come save you? No. She's like, learn their life story. That's it. That's you. You are authentic and you're real, and you dive to the bottom of everybody.
I'm sorry, John. Can I ask a silly question, Amanda, by the way?
Yes, please do.
I mean, I love wine, but I am still learning. And so, John and Michelle, if there are people out there, can I ask this question now, or should I wait?
No.
You can,
okay.
Yeah.
If there's people watching who are like me and love wine, but I kind of always feel silly at the restaurant. And it's like, okay, do this and smell it. It all smells good to me. Like what should I be looking for and doing if I'm coming to your vineyard? What do I do?
This is right up her alley. So.
Right. I used to teach this to people before we actually had our own wine. So basically what you're looking for is characteristics that you relate to. So if someone's sitting there and I'm saying, oh, it's pineapple and honeydew, and you're like, I don't get that, but I do get tangerine and orange blossom, and I get other fragrances. It's sort of what you relate to. So you go down these characteristics of lemon and orange and different things that peaches, nectarine, things like that. All of that may come out in this. And really, it's just what's coming to your mind is nothing's wrong, right? It's not wrong because I say I'm smelling pineapple and you're like, I do not smell pineapple at all in this wine. It's not that it's wrong, because it's everyone's taste buds are different. So first of all, when you're tasting a wine, you pour the wine, and before you even sip it, you should kind of swirl it. So what happens in your glass is you volatilize the esters. So it brings out the flavor and the aroma of the wine before you even taste it. So then smell it. Mm-hmm. And then take a sip after you smell it. So you can kind of imagine in your mind what you might be tasting in your mouth. So if you taste honeydew and you taste nectarine and you smell all that, then it prepares your palate for what you'll be tasting. So then you go ahead and take a sip, and you can already imagine, what you've in your mind, what you've been smelling, and it helps prepare your palate for what you'll be tasting. So that's kind of like the fun.
It simplifies it. It is somewhat intimidating.
Careful what you asked for, Sage.
I know. I can keep talking about it.
I love it.
Listen,
I will.
Are you supposed to chug it like this guy? like.
I think that's you, Wendy. I think
good. Yeah.
No, I mean, look. I'm embracing it, and then look at this guy over here.
It's good wine. What do you want? I got
okay.
Yeah.
So I will interject really quick, you guys, so you can see. So we have Phil Paluski coming in saying, Sage, come to the wine celebration. It's the best way to learn.
I can't wait. Yes.
True.
I'll be there.
And then also, one other comment that came in, it was from Miss Ellie Annis. So we're getting some love from our friends over at 1111. Says, love you all. Cheers to the wonderful work the V Foundation does for all. Cheers to you, Ellie. We love you too.
Thank you, Ellie.
All right. So as a reminder to everybody, like I said, if you're just joining us, please feel free to drop some comments, and we'll be answering some questions live. If you have any questions for our group here, obviously, it's a pretty fun group. So please feel free. Also, wanted to do a shout out. If you're watching this on a replay, please feel free. We'll be answering comments later as well. Just do #replay. We'd love to connect with you too. All right. So let's see, Sage.
Yes, ma'am.
The V Foundation. We are so honored to have you as a brand new board member. I can't tell you enough how excited all of us were to hear that you were coming on the board. Can you tell us a little bit more about why you chose the V Foundation to be on the board of, and just a little bit more about your cancer story and background?
Thank you so much, Amanda. And I have to tell you, when I first got the call, it was from my friend, Jimmy Pitaro, who happens to be the president of ESPN as well. He's my boss. Yep. He's like insane, you know, Jimmy. I mean, he's the best boss I've probably ever had in 25 years in this business, because he's a human being, God forbid, right? He's a human being, and he's just amazing in so many ways. And when he called me, I was like, are you sure you're asking me to be on the V Foundation board? I got emotional. It meant, because obviously I've known about V Foundation forever. And since Jimmy V, the speech, 93, and I just couldn't believe it. Jimmy knows, as does George Bodenheimer, also on the board for a long time, and former president of ESPN, and he's still with us at Disney. They both know our story, and I'll keep it short and tight here, but I think it was, Chad, you can correct me, 2011 or 2011 maybe, when our dad was diagnosed with prostate cancer. And, you know, prostate cancer, that's the good cancer, right? Until it's not. And he had his prostate removed, and then 2 years later, the cancer came back, and it was, you know, all it takes is one cell, and it had metastasized into his lower spine. And, you know, he still has that. It's behaving right now, as we like to say. He still has that, but it's dormant, like a volcano. It's lying dormant, and we're managing that. And then 3.5 years ago, we got, it's one of those phone calls in the middle of the night that you hope you never get. I was living in Scottsdale, Arizona at the time. Chad and Wendy, of course, were in Baltimore. Our brother Courtney was in Los Angeles. And basically, my dad had collapsed, and they didn't know what was going on. And he had terrible pain in his neck. They eventually got him to the hospital where he was getting his treatment for prostate cancer as well, Johns Hopkins, and one of the places that he had worked with for prostate. And there's a tumor the size of a golf ball wrapped around his C6 and C7 vertebrae. And we automatically thought it's related to the prostate cancer, naturally, because that was already in his lower spine. We thought, okay, it traveled up. And after emergency surgery and then the biopsy, it came back that it was multiple myeloma. So there was a lot of Googling and a lot of like, what is this? And you know, by the way, the Multiple Myeloma Research Foundation is absolutely incredible in what they are doing for that cancer in particular. They are incredible. And Kathy Giusti, the founder, who's fought it for 30 years herself. So we've learned so much. And I think, obviously, it's the C word. It's difficult. It's terrible. But what we have found is there's a real family with this as well, with MMRF, and certainly with everybody at the V Foundation. And so to be asked to be on the board, as we continue to fight for our dad, our colonel, as we like to call him, retired colonel. We call him retired old colonel. He might be watching now, Dad. If so, you need to write in. You and Mom, I know you're drinking something. You might as well be drinking with us. But he's battling right now. His numbers are low. It probably will never go away. Hopefully they find a cure, but something he's going to have to continue to fight. But he's still undergoing chemotherapy as we speak, on vacation up at Cape Cod. He's taking his pills. He's changed his life. And that's the thing, is, unfortunately, we know that we're not alone, but that does help you keep fighting. And so again, sorry, full circle. It's an emotional story, but to be asked to be on the board to help, just to get the word out there and to give back in little ways, right? Just to talk about it. It's an honor. It is a blessing. And when I look at all the people who are associated with it, and of course, Robin Roberts and my friend Stuart Scott, who's been gone for 5.5 years now. I mean, I miss Stuart more every single day. And what the V Foundation does in conjunction with Stuart is incredible. I know he's watching, and I know he'd be sitting here drinking with me if he were here. That's for sure. So it's a huge honor, and I just hope to be able to help in any little way, just to talk about it. And in tonight's case, just to drink a little wine and remember and remind people that John and Michelle are just so generous. And all you people watching, every bottle you buy, they're sending 100% of the proceeds back to V Foundation for people like my dad and unfortunately millions of other people across the world too. So thanks again to John and Michelle. It's incredible. And I want to point out this real quick. It's funny because during COVID, you know, the focus has gone elsewhere, as it should, and we understand that. But at the same time, proceeds like we're trying to raise tonight, I mean, it is crucial because cancer didn't take a break. Cancer didn't go in quarantine. Cancer didn't stop. And people still need these treatments and all the research that goes into it. That's why, to me, things like tonight are just crucial and priceless, because when something like this, a pandemic, happens and all the unrest around the country, people forget that there's still people who have to go to a hospital and put that mask on and are fearful of going to a hospital to get their treatment, but they have no choice, right? So I know I'm buying more wine tonight, and I hope all you out there do the same.
Oh, that's incredible, Sage. Thank you. And I have some photos I'd love to show too, just of your family and your dad. I'm assuming this is not obviously during COVID.
Yeah, this was surgery in January, February of 2017, and that was at Johns Hopkins right before he went under surgery to get the tumor removed from his spine. Yeah.
And then I couldn't help it. I love this photo.
That was during his recovery, and you know, listen, I'll just say it. I'm 47 years old. I will always be a daddy's girl forever and ever. And I have a hard time looking at that picture myself, just because I remember what I was thinking at that moment. Our big, strong, tough dad, and he still is. I think even more strong and tough now, based on the way he has chosen to handle his diagnosis and his treatment. So I do. That picture's difficult, but I love it.
Yeah, he is truly an incredible man. I was able to watch the NFL piece on your family. And if anyone out there has not seen that yet, please go. I believe it's on both of your Twitter pages. It's incredible. I was in tears after that.
Very strong people.
So, yes. Now, I have to say, because we have a little bit of time, and I'm going to call it out. Okay. So you had mentioned to us before that you actually know Coach K as well, who is obviously a huge part of the V Foundation family.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that, the background?
So Chad and I, so Chad, you were born in 1974.
I'm just gonna throw that out there. I mean,
you're younger than me.
Geez.
Long story short, my dad and Coach K were classmates at West Point. Coach K, they were the class of 69, and then my dad needed a little bit of an extra year. He ended up graduating in 70. And, but you know, Coach K, I'm pretty sure he changed one of my diapers, which is disturbing to think of now. Blah, sorry, Coach. And then through the years, obviously, when I became a sportscaster, and we grew up as huge Duke fans because of my dad's and my mom and dad's relationship with Coach K. And then through the years, I've obviously gotten to know him on a little bit of a different level through sports and through my job. And then with the V Foundation, of course, I haven't seen him since I was asked to be on the board, and I absolutely can't wait. But he's been somebody that's been, right, Chad, like really special for our family, knowing that where he comes from and his integrity and what he stands for, and therefore what his program has stood for, and the power that he has with the platform that he has and how he chooses to use it for the V Foundation is incredible. And also Jay Billis, who's a Dookie as well, and one of my teammates at ESPN. Jay was asked to be on the board as well at the same time I was in December. And so those two, Billis and Coach K together, what a force. It is awesome. I don't think Coach K changed your diaper, though. If so, Chad, he might have jumped off the roof.
No, he actually did, which I was going to say, because when the Final Four was in Charlotte, it was my junior year in college, and Coach K and Duke, they were in the Final Four. So a couple of my teammates and I went up to watch them practice, and I saw Mrs. Krzyzewski walking up the back steps. So I said, hey, I know the Krzyzewskis, come with me. And only two of my teammates came, and because nobody believed me. And we see Mrs. Krzyzewski, and I said, Mrs. Krzyzewski, Chad. She goes, oh my gosh. And she brought us down on the floor, and after practice, and all of a sudden, all my teammates wanted to run over then, but there were two of my teammates and Coach K, I got to introduce him. And he said, yes. He goes, I've known this young man a long time. I changed his diapers, and God, did they stink. And
Oh my
so
God.
for the next 2 years in college, I was diapers for to my teammates.
Oh my
Not
goodness.
like stick.
Yeah. Yeah. So again,
Well-
thanks for bringing that up, Paige.
Well, thank you guys so much for sharing your story. And again, Sage, thank you for being vulnerable and sharing the story, you know, obviously of your dad and his cancer battle. And like I said, it's stories like yours that really inspire us all to keep moving on in this battle. John, I'm pretty sure Chad's been done with his white wine for a bit, or his Sauvignon Blanc for a bit. Can you tell us a little bit about the next wine we're going to be trying?
Wait, can I just say before we move on from this, I am not a Sauv Blanc. I love my Chardonnay, and this is amazing. I'm definitely going to be
It's
drinking.
really good.
It's so funny, Wendy, you say that because so many people say, I really don't like Sauvignon Blanc, but I like your Sauvignon Blanc.
Yes.
And I think what it is it's a richer style, right?
Yes,
It's richer. It's not grassy and crisp. I mean, which is, it does too, but we chose to make a richer style of Sauvignon Blanc, and that's what it is. It's nice and ripe, and John gets it nice and ripe on the vine, and it's just
love ripe on the vine.
delicious. So that's what
that is true.
And really quick, Michelle, I also want to throw up here. So Chrissy's coming in and saying hi to all of us. Love all of you so much. Toasting all of you with my delicious John Anthony Sauvignon Blanc.
Did Chrissy hear our love fest of her? Hopefully she did.
I hope she heard us giving her love.
Yes. We are we're like the Bill Walsh of Chrissy Delisle, right? The tree of, descendants. But anyway, okay. Love this.
All right, John, what's next?
All right, next. So we got the 2018 John Anthony Chardonnay. And but if you like non-oaked and stainless steel Chardonnay, this is not that. This is a nice amount of oak. It goes through secondary fermentation. So this will be more on the oaky, buttery side of Chardonnays. We've been doing Chardonnay for quite a while. And we added in 2016, I had an opportunity to lease a vineyard that's in Carneros. It's on the it's actually a little south of Carneros, and planted a couple different varietal Chardonnay being one of them. And this vineyard had a Robert Young clone of Chardonnay that's nice tropical notes. So 100% Chardonnay. Sage Steele's opening. Okay, you're doing on national television, Sage. Good job.
Help me, Lord. I'm not very good at this.
We got to take a moment here to watch Sage open this.
No, I'm gonna go around the corner. I'll probably break the cork.
This is perfect.
You're doing
this is
great.
fun. You almost got the first one without making
Keep talking, John. Really?
All right. I'm trying to get my attention on you. And so 100% Chardonnay. This wine gets aged on American oak barrels, and we go through 100% secondary fermentation. The secondary fermentation is what gives you that like rich, more of a creamy backdrop to it. So it takes some of that acid and converts it into more of a creaminess. And for those who like that big, rich, classic Napa Valley Chardonnay style, this would check the box. Check the box for that. So,
John, just letting you know, we have Frank coming in from Hong Kong. He is saying, can Chardonnay be considered a breakfast wine? It is 8:30 a.m. here.
Yes.
Frankie. Yeah, that's great.
hey,
Absolutely, yeah. You can't drink all day if you don't start early, Frank. So you might as well.
Exactly right.
So
That is
thank you. Anybody
All right,
that
well-
knows me knows that I love a buttery Chardonnay. Always. In fact, how many people call me, hey, buttery Chardonnay girl?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, we got the wine for you then, Wendy.
Exactly.
thank you. The next batch should be called the Wendy.
That's great. Sage, what do you think?
Okay. Well, I successfully opened the bottle first of all.
Yay, Sage.
So I'm following Michelle's instructions. And I did it give a little swirl.
And you can
Swirling.
swirl on your table if like this.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's hard to swirl, but
Yeah. You can't see me doing that.
swirl on your table like that. Volatilize your esters and then smell it.
Volatilize my esters. esters.
Volatile esters.
Careful.
And with this, I mean, it's a richer aroma that you'll get, more like pear and, like baked apple, a richness of vanilla, from the oak barrels, you'll get more of that. So then when you taste it, then you kind of imagine that in your mind. Of course, this is not like, when we're talking about these things, it's not like you taste apple pie, right? You don't, but it's like the essence of that. It's these little characteristics of that relate to the wine, and that's kind of where you get all that.
This is special.
It is. This is amazing.
It is wonderful. I usually don't like Chardonnay, and I love this Chardonnay.
Yay.
Thank you.
Someone once said to me that when you look at like different varietals, so Sauvignon Blanc, a lot of the flavors are developed in the field. So if you pick Sauvignon Blanc early, you get more of those grassy flavors. You pick it later, you get more of those ripe tropical flavors. I mean, Cabernet is very much a product of the site and the conditions. Chardonnay is much more of a winemaker's wine, meaning that in the field, when you go through and taste Chardonnay in the field, there's flavors for sure, but it's more of a white slate or blank slate when it comes in. So much of the flavors that are developed are based on yeast selection, fermentation methodology, barrel selection. Does it go through secondary fermentation or not? So it gives the winemaker a lot of choice. And Chardonnays, you get a lot of variation among the different Chardonnays. So again, this definitely is the rich and bold version of Chardonnay.
That's wonderful. Thank you. All right. So for those of us that, again, just jumping in, as a reminder, I'm here with John and Michelle Trouchard, Sage Steele, and Chad and Wendy Steele. And we're previewing and tasting the beautiful trio that John is offering and 100% of proceeds are going to be coming back to the V Foundation for Cancer Research. So for more information and to buy the wines, you can check out the information below. And Chad, we're coming to you next. So Chad, you have also been a big supporter. You and Wendy have obviously been big supporters of, the V Foundation. Max and I have worked with you multiple times. We absolutely love everything that you guys are doing for us. I do have to ask, in my research, I've discovered that apparently you are the most famous NFL face that people don't know. Can you tell us what that's all about?
Yes. So at the Super Bowl each year, the NFL league office only has so many people, and they credential, almost 7,000 media members last year. So they need help. So they invite a few of the PR reps from across the league to come down and help. And I've helped, I think it's 7 or 8 now. And so I just happened to be, I would always be assigned to a quarterback at the end of the game because the stars have to do certain things with our network partners. And so we get a list. Okay, they have to do this. And so I would always get a quarterback, and I would just most of the time get the winning quarterback. And so I'm kind of behind him, kind of pushing his way through to where he needs to be. And of course, there are a lot of television cameras on us. And so I believe it was Super Bowl 50. I was with Peyton Manning, and that was my 3rd Super Bowl working. And I get on the bus, and I get all these texts going home after the game. I get all these texts from people, and Joel McHale, the actor and the host of Talk Soup from ETV, says, "Hey, everybody's congratulating Peyton Manning. Let's congratulate the guy behind Peyton. Hashtag guy behind Peyton." So it's a bunch of pictures of me, like kind of right behind Peyton, and so that kind of trended. And then in the years since then, I've been doing it, and it's just, there are a lot of PR guys in the field, but not a lot of 6'7" biracial PR guys. So I think that's where it's came from. My friends have a lot of fun with it, with me, but it's it's a joy to work the Super Bowl, and I've been lucky enough to be in the right place at the right time a lot.
Oh, that's awesome. So I guess I need to add that. So Senior Vice President of the Baltimore Ravens and hashtag guy behind Peyton.
Yes.
Hashtag.
I'll make sure to correct all of my future stuff.
I just want to chime in here because my job is to be on TV every day. Worked hard, 25 years, right? And this guy just waltzes in there on Super Bowl Sunday every year and in front of 300 million people across the globe, he gets more airtime in one day than I get in an entire year. And I'm like, what? What is this? And then I get text messages from people saying, oh, there's your brother. I'm like, I don't know him. He looks familiar. I don't know him. It is honestly, and I kid with him. I give him a hard time, but it's hysterical. And it's true. I mean, big black guy in a suit standing behind the winning quarterback as little Tracy Wolfson from CBS or somebody else. I mean, it's actually kind of cool to watch because I'm looking at it from a different perspective as a reporter who's been in those big groups, and it's kind of stressful. And Tracy is awesome. And she's also like 5'0", right? And so she's getting crushed because the hordes of media that come in. So Chad, and I can say this because I'm going to brag about you because I don't say nice things to you that often. I need to do that more. New Year's resolution. Today's the first day of the second half of 2020. So I'm going to say nice things.
Ooh, yes.
You work your butt off and you deserve, the NFL doesn't do favors for people. You have been chosen for that role because you're good at your job. He's also massive. And so to me, he's Tracy Wolfson's bodyguard, and it's protecting her from being crushed by the awful media. So it's crazy to see every single year. But I have to say, as a big sister, and I covered the Ravens for 5 seasons when he was the PR guy, which was that's I got enough stuff there for a book. Quite a fascinating dynamic there, but I don't know. I'm proud of how Chad handles himself in really tough situations through 21 years in the NFL, Chad?
Yeah. And as everybody that knows Sage and I, and we work together, Sage, everybody says, including the players now, Sage got the talent and the looks, and I got the height. So the height helps me in those situations. So I guess 1 out of 3.
People out. The size helps, yeah. But no, it's really cool. And my kids see him, and there's like Uncle Chad every once a year. That's all you get. Stay off my screen, otherwise.
Well, and I will say, and I am not being biased. I mean, obviously, I'm your wife, but I've worked in sports as well, so that's kind of our whole connection, right? So I've been on the back end of sports production on the producing side, and produced for DirecTV Sports, was a big client of mine for years, and EA Sports, and produced all sorts of TV shows. So I worked with a million Chads, right? So not just NFL, but NBA and NHL and MLB. So I've worked with a lot of Chads, and he's really is the best at what he does. You are good at getting the get, they say, right? So like what he's good at is delivering and getting guys the total pain in the asses. And Ray Lewis will be, he knows this. We call him Uncle Ray, but like, they don't want to do any of it, right? So and Tom Brady and all those guys, none of them, they're tired after games. They don't want to talk to the sages, and so, but Chad has a way of getting them to do what they don't want to do, and getting everybody on board. So that is a huge skill, and I hope that our son has that, because it's a little bit of a relentlessness, right, Sage? It's like, and Ray will say the same thing about Chad. It's like, I just want him to stop. I'm just gonna do it, which is very much like being married to you. But so anyway, it is fun, and
we might not be as close with John and Michelle though without that whole.
Well, exactly.
So thank you, John and Michelle, for putting up.
Thank you, Chad. And now we have John and Michelle in our lives. Exactly.
So, Amanda, here's a great example of how Chad does what he does extremely well. And also a shout out to one of the players on the Ravens that did something very kind. Our daughter, about a year and a half ago, broke her ankle. And she's been big into sports. And so Chad asked Lamar Jackson to do a little video. And Lamar did this little 15-second video. A little shout out to our daughter. And Chad texted it to us. And I showed Taylor the video. And so every time the Ravens play, it's like, where's Lamar Jackson? How's he doing? What's going on? Right? And it was a great example of someone very important, do something very kind for a child. And now you've got Ravens fans out here. She's like, well, I don't know. Is it the 49ers or is it the Ravens? I mean, and that's a great example of like real high quality, like, getting the word out and it's an example of Chad doing what Chad does, which is very natural for him, and world to our daughter, and she still wears her little Ravens Lamar Jackson jersey around.
Changed an 8-year-old's life, and like she will talk about it for the rest of her life, right? So yeah, for sure.
Right.
Well, thank you so much for sharing all that, Chad, and John and Michelle for sharing that story. I think I'm going to become more of a Ravens fan now too.
I like it.
Right.
So John, as we go into our third wine, I definitely want to. Excuse me, I'm choked up over that story. That was so sweet. As our 2020 Vintner Grant honorees, the importance of what this program is to the wine celebration. It is part of the heart of the wine celebration and highlighting our vintners and highlighting their cancer stories and just bringing the entire community together. So I'd love to hear more as we go into our third wine, because I don't know, Chad, are you done yet? Or
I've been done for a while. I've been waiting for this. I'm trying to tell Wendy to be quiet so we can get to the next wine.
Can we work on wine like etiquette? Is all like ogre. We gotta work on a little.
As we go into the red, if you'd like to go ahead and talk about the Cabernet for us, but then I really would love to hear the story, about your mom, about how you feel being a 2020 Vintner Grant honoree, and just kind of all that means to you as far as being a part of the V family.
You bet. Maybe I'll start off with that, and then we'll finish with the wine and take it from there. So, Michelle and I were talking about this. I think 2020 would have been our 10 years participating in the V Foundation Wine Celebration, and as I mentioned earlier, our first reason for getting involved is we got invited to a great event, and then you start realizing what's behind that and the importance of it and the significance of it, and part of what caused us to want to get involved more and continue to contribute was not only the money was going for a good cause, but also just the way they go about it. And then throughout our lives, everyone's going to, somewhere throughout their lives, will be touched by cancer, whether that's themselves or their family members or someone they know. And with our family, it was my mother in 2003. And I'll say something before I go into the story. My mom has this vision. She said, I remember when I was a child hearing about, reading the story about this duck, and you see the duck on the pond, but the duck is calm and peaceful and cruising around, but under the water, the feet are like going like crazy. And she's like, that image always stood with me. And that would be the best way to describe her and our family's experience with her cancer. So in 2003, she was diagnosed with colon cancer. My father was an internist. And I remember I got to the she went in for she wasn't feeling well. They're supposed to travel. She was feeling very anemic. So she went in, she had some blood samples done, blood tests done. And they said, oh, we're checking you in immediately. Something here's not quite right. And they did some x-rays, and they found that she had a big blockage in her colon, and quickly realized it was a large tumor. And so within 24 hours, her life was turned upside down. And that particular, where her tumor was located, had somewhere in the ballpark of like a 50% chance of success. At the time that we knew none of this. And so I got off work, went to the hospital, spent some time with my mom. And it was interesting. Like, our family, we're very optimistic. And so we deal with the facts, we deal with realities, but it was like, we're going to make it through this. I remember sitting there with my mother. And to me, there was like, maybe it was ignorance, maybe it was wishful thinking, but it was like, we are going to be just fine. I remember sitting there holding her hand and saying it's going to be okay. And where I think the gravity of the situation struck me was when I saw my father get off the elevator. And again, he's, my father today he'll turn 82 this year, and physician for internist for 25 years. And now he's a vintner, and he is, never shows emotion. He's this strong man, and watching him get off the elevator and just seeing the concern and the fear in his eyes, I realized like, oh, this is thank goodness this was after I'd spent time with my mother, because I realized like, oh, this is pretty serious. And so my mother went through, she had that section of her colon removed, and she went through her chemotherapy. She was very relieved to know that the drugs that she had to take didn't cause her to lose her hair, because that was important for her looks and appearance. And she was such a rock star. It was like she had a bad case of the flu or something. I mean, it was like she went through surgery, and then very shortly she was back at home, and we were all doting on her. And she's like, I want to make lunch. The sooner I can get back to normality, the better. And that was in 2003. In 2008, she was cancer free. She's been cancer free since then.
Wow.
It was like a little blip.
Awesome.
So that was.
She's a beautiful woman. That's a nice little photo of you guys.
Yeah, she is a force of positivity. I could not think of having a better mother. I love her with all my heart, and she's always there for all of us. And she's strong, and she knows right from wrong, but she always is there to support us and puts the bright spin on things. And it was our opportunity to be there for her. And so bringing it back, full circle, when we had the opportunity to learn more about the V Foundation and the work it does, not only does it touch home for us, but it's just such an awesome organization in that they'll provide funding for cancer research that otherwise might not get funded. And it was once explained to me as like the venture capital of cancer research. And I totally get that, right? Because you have these large endowments that have a ton of money, but they need to put money into later stage research that has higher probability of success. But who's out there funding the long shot? Who's out there funding the moon shot? And a lot of times that's where that innovation, that's where the creativity, that's where some of the opportunity for game-changing cure takes place. And so thank you to the V for doing that, and we'll do our part along the way.
Thank you, John, and thanks for sharing that story. Once again, like I said, hearing the cancer stories and hearing the stories of hope, it really is. I know I speak for all of us at the V Foundation and the Wine Celebration team. It really is what motivates us to keep going and to keep fighting and to keep doing this. So thank you. All right.
Okay. Wine?
Are we ready to go into our red wine?
After that, yeah, yes. All right.
Here we go. The cab, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is right. Okay. Yeah.
All
sure.
right. Just a reminder for everybody that's joining us, feel free to drop comments and questions in the feed, and we'll be answering. Fred came in and said, beautiful story. Thank you, John. Much love.
Beautiful. Thank God. Thank God your mom is. You look just like her, by the way. That picture is great. You are a clone of your mama.
Thank you, Sage. All right. So this is our 2016 Napa Cabernet. So before we jump into this, I'll give you like the elevator version of like, why are we doing wine and how do we do this? And so I saw my mom. My parents got involved in the wine industry in the early 70s. They started Truchard Vineyards out in Carneros. I graduated college in the mid 90s. Michelle and I started dating our sophomore year in college. And a couple of years into college, it was kind of like, okay, what do we want to do? And I'm like, I want to do what my mom and dad do. I'm going to find a way to create a life for us in the wine business. And I knew from my mom and dad, it was like, I understand the business, and I really wanted to find a way for us to do it on our own. And so I came home one day, I did some internship that I was like, this is not for me. And I came home like, here's the plan. I mean, I want to start a little vineyard management business. And I want to take those profits and start leasing small plots of land in Napa Valley, and then take those grapes and start making wine. And Michelle's like, that's so cool.
I said, this is great. How long is this going to take? And he goes, that's the best part. Only 10 to 15 years. Like,
oh my God.
That's a long time.
So I sure have to give that background because, so this is 2016. Our first vintage was 2003. And those vineyards were planted like in 99 and 2000. And so all the grapes that go into Johnny Anthony Wines are all the vineyards that I planted and farm in Napa Valley.
Wow.
So we often say, like, if you don't like our wine, keep your comments to yourself. I don't want to hear it. Don't tell me our kids are ugly. All right. So those out there who are trying this, I don't like it. Don't want to hear it.
It's so true.
So what are we drinking? So 2016 Cabernet. Grapes come from southwest corner of Napa Valley, primarily the Oak Knoll district. Why is that important? Southwest corner. It's basically the Mayacamas mountain range. You got a combination of it's a lot of clay and shale soil, so you get very smooth, silky tannins, right? So I describe the wine. So it's very rich, but still smooth and silky. Two different clones. Clone 337 is kind of known for its berry and jammy and ripeness. And then Clone 7 has a lot of great tannins. And so why do you choose those two? I want a wine that's delicious, that is approachable, that people can enjoy, and also a wine that people can age, right? And if those two are not mutually exclusive. Some people have this idea that, oh, young wines are no good. Young wines are, you have to wait till they age. And I would say that a young wine would be like the beautiful, the cute little girl turns into a beautiful teenager, turns into a beautiful mother, turns into someone with grace and age when they're 80 years old. And wine is the same thing. A beautiful wine is always a beautiful wine.
I love that analogy. Oh my gosh.
I think it's the right way to look at it, right? Because it's not like you have a wine that's horrible and then it gets pretty all of a sudden. It's
I love that.
Right? I mean, it's just like it makes sense too, right? People can relate to it. And so our goal is to have wines that are maybe wonderful, presentable when they're young, but to continue to age, but hopefully age gracefully. And this is a good representation of that. So, cheers.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Amazing.
And this is so great. And Wendy grew up in Sonoma County, and so she's always been around wine. I didn't drink for a long time, and then when I did, I was drinking like Zima's and Boone's Farm, something sweet.
Oh my God!
I know.
It's embarrassing.
I just admitted that, but through Wendy, I've learned a little more to appreciate wine, and so thankful for the Truchards, because what you guys have introduced into my life is absolutely amazing. And this I'm a red wine guy. So this to me, this is the nectar. I'm not, and everybody talks about the wine they don't like, right? I'm not a white wine person, but both of those white wines are something that I could drink every day.
But this is special, yeah.
But this is my, like, this is, I'm not pouring Wendy anymore. The rest of this is going with me. I'm gonna have this.
Right. We need a big juicy steak.
Yeah.
But I love John and Michelle, because when you talk to John, he's like, in a farm geek kind of way, he's like, I'm a farmer, like I'm a farmer first, which is so amazing, which people don't ever appreciate with wine, right? It's like there is an entire whole universe of science and horticulture and viniculture and all those things, right? It is such a difficult business, and it's difficult to do well in it. And you have done this in your amazing label, but then what you guys have done with Jam Cellars as well. I mean, you have many labels. So what people don't realize about John and Michelle, they are like, sorry, the mayor, I call them the mayor of Napa, right? Like they literally are changing the world. And so what you've also done with Jam Cellars, which stands for John and Michelle, right? Jam, or John Anthony Michelle, or right? John and Michelle.
John and Michelle.
But you're also, I have kudos to you guys, because you are also marketing geniuses. Like we talk about you guys all the time. I understand that, there are also other, Napa vineyards that you go against the grain. You also don't care. You're like, just like you went to Michelle and said, hey, I have this idea. It's going to take 10 to 15 years. And then also you guys have done everything opposite what normal people would advise, which is so amazing. You've taken risks in your lives. And same with Jam Cellars. You're like, you know what? It's okay. It's okay to go against the grain on this, this wine, the whole like culture of it, right? So let's do something fun with it. So anyway, we're so proud of you guys, and what you've done has been so amazing. And all that.
You're very sweet. You're very sweet. I often think about great wines, and I was brought very much on the grape growing side of the business, and so the winemaking to me was a total black box. I understood like the grape growing. My father was raised on a farm in Texas, and so as he planted his vineyards, I was just out there with him. And I often say my dad was like Mr. Miyagi. He didn't actually explain to me what he was doing. He was just doing his thing, and I was just along for the ride. And then I realized, like, oh, I actually understand farming very well. The winemaking was always a black box. And after about 10 years in the business, I realized, oh, the winemaker's like is the best sport agent because he's good at what he does, or is because he gets the right athletes? And the answer is probably both, right? They have to have the right athletes, and they have to be good at what they do. Same thing with the best winemakers. They get the best fruit. It starts with the fruit, right? There's no way you're going to take bad fruit and make great wine. You have to, and great fruit's a function of like the area. So if you're in Napa, you're already starting on third base, and then how you farm it is really important. And so when I started the business, I realized, like, okay, where the grapes are grown, how they're grown, the farming is extremely important. Where the grapes are made, which facility is not quite as important, and then of course you have to make sure you don't screw it up and get across the finish line with a great product. And so hopefully those who are trying our wines and enjoy them, and we're honored to be here and share them with everyone.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Well, thank you so much, John. And like I said, for those, again, that if you're coming in, tuning in, get information at the bottom, 100% of the proceeds from this wine trio package will be going to the V Foundation to fund our Fund a Need this year, which is to our V Scholars. It all goes to exactly what John was talking about. It's that venture capitalist. It's getting our V Scholars off the bench. So unfortunately, with COVID, a lot of our V Scholars are actually out of the labs, and we need some extra funding to get them back to work. So this is what we're doing.
I mean, Amanda, it's one of those things, because I don't know. I entered 2020 as like, this is my year. This is our year. This is 2020. It just sounds cool. My oldest daughter, that all changed, but she was going to graduate in 2020. Like, it's just a cool sounding year, right?
Yeah.
And it began, and it's been brutal for some of you. And through this, we all try to maintain perspective, right? And we have our health, we have our jobs. We're okay, but so many people are not. One thing I think that it's been easy to forget is that there's, with the shutdowns, there's been so many other things that have had to try to continue, but our V Scholars have been sidelined through all of this. And so that's the problem, though, is that cancer isn't paying attention to coronavirus. It is continuing to infiltrate, frankly, and mess up a lot of people's lives. And so all of our scholars, again, I'm so thankful and proud to be part of the board at the V Foundation, but our scholars have had to like take a back seat and just wait. And the funding needs to continue. I mean, it's I don't want to say it's to the point of desperation, but it's very, very important. It's crucial right now to keep that funding coming in so they can continue to do their jobs. And there's scientists, and they're digging deep every single day to try to find cures. I mean, to get to the basics, right? Try to find cures for way too many cancers that are out there. So I don't know. It's an honor to be part of this. And John and Michelle, again, and I didn't know your story, John, with your mother. So it's hard to share some of these things, but thank you for doing so, because I know that this is very personal to you, which explains, not that you're generous anyway, but it certainly adds to the reason why you're choosing to give every penny of what people buy tonight back to the V Scholars who are trying to help everybody. I don't know. I hope that my kids don't have to deal with this. I hope that their kids don't have to deal with this. And there's only one way to get that done, is to give the funding and to the research for it. So I don't know. It's emotional, but it's so positive, because everybody here is making a decision to be part of something that's bigger than all of us. I love you, Michelle. I've seen you wiping your hands a couple times tonight. I love you. You're the best.
Thank you.
Honestly, I couldn't have said that better, Sage. You really just hit the nail on the head. And John and Michelle, thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your wines. Thank you for everything you continue to do for us. Chad and Wendy, thank you for being here as well. It has been so awesome talking with you guys. Before we head out, just wanted to give everybody a heads up that this is all leading up to the ultimate V Momentum 2.0. So As most know at this point, our wine celebration, we've been forced to cancel all of our live events. So we are now going into a virtual, Frank Lonergan will love this, a fully immersive auction experience. So you won't want to miss it. So don't forget to register for the virtual auction Saturday, August 8th. You can register at winecelebration.org/momentum2020 with our hosts, Coach K, Sage Steele, and Jay Billis. And with special musical performances by Andy Kramer and Michael Franti. So again, thank you guys so much for doing this. Until next time, everyone, always remember, don't give up.
Don't ever give up. I love you guys. Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you, guys.
Cheers.
Thank you, Amanda.